Part 1. The Divine Reality Way of Adidam is devotional recognition of me and devotional response to me. Taken from Recognition of Me is Liberation. The radical conversion to intrinsic egolessness in the Divine Reality Way of Adidam by His Divine Presence, Avatar Adidam Samraj. 1. Beloved, I am Da. 2. I am being itself, consciousness itself, and love bliss itself. I am reality itself. I am the bright itself, the one and only and intrinsically indivisible and self-evidently divine conscious light. I am that which is always already the case. 3. This is what you discover if you devotionally recognize me and devotionally respond to me as my formally acknowledged devotee. 4. If you tacitly and not merely mentally devotionally recognize me and spontaneously, rather than merely strategically, devotionally respond to me, you find only me. Then the images of the world that cover your eyes and capture your mind disappear, and then there is only my divine form. 5. Whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person is the moment-to-moment foundation of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam, which is the one and only by me revealed and by me given radical reality way of the heart. Truly, there is no end phenomenon to the great process of devotional recognition of me and devotional response to me. The practice of the radical reality way of Adidam is always moment to moment, the regeneration of the devotional disposition of whole bodily recognition response to me. 6. The devotional and in due course transcendental spiritual process of whole bodily recognition response to me is not a self-generated or ego-based matter. The devotional and in due course transcendental spiritual process of whole bodily recognition response to me is not something done by the individual body-mind complex to itself. Rather, the devotional and in due course transcendental spiritual process of whole bodily recognition response to me is what the total body-mind spontaneously does when it truly heart beholds me. 7. Devotional recognition of me begins and always continues with your heart beholding of my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form, whether during my physical human lifetime, in my physical human company, or at any time, and forever hereafter, via photographic or other technical or artistic representations of my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form, and your heart consideration of my avataric word of divine self-confession and divine heart instruction, and my avataric image art of divinely envisioned revelation, and my avataric revelation history of divinely liberating play. 8. Devotional recognition of me is not a matter of merely knowing my name or knowing what my bodily human form looks like. Devotional recognition of me is not a matter of believing what any other says about me. Devotional recognition of me is not a matter of reinforcing a structure in your own belief mind. Devotional recognition of me is not a matter of identifying certain aspects of your own egoic experience as me. Devotional recognition of me is not a matter of making a merely verbal acknowledgement of me as a divine person. Rather, devotional recognition of me is a matter of heart feeling who and what I myself am, altogether, as my avatarically born bodily human divine form, and as my avatarically self-transmitted transcendental spiritual and always blessing divine presence, and as my avatarically self-revealed and very and transcendental and perfectly subjective and inherently spiritual and intrinsically egoless and inherently perfect and self-evidently divine state. 9. If you devotionally recognize me, then you feel my bright divine self-nature, self-condition, and self-state prior to your own limited and mortal condition. If you devotionally recognize me, then you are swooned into the ecstatic disposition of devotion to me. In that ecstatic disposition of devotion to me, you are entered into devotional communion with me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 10. If you are without the ecstasy of devotion to me, then it seems you are the ego knot or self-contraction, a hard and self-protected ball of ego I, rather than an open cup, upturned to me. You cannot click enough clacks on your locks to open the whole thing of ego I to me. Your thing of ego I only opens all at once to me when there is whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me. 11. When my especially fully me hearing and me seeing devotee tacitly devotionally recognizes me and spontaneously devotionally responds to me, the whole body mind opens up to me and receives me, just as the yoni receives the lingam. Such devotional communion with me is the Bhagavan state of love's egoless embrace of me. 12. Devotional recognition of me is always active worship of me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. Indeed, to devotionally recognize me is to be a constant devotional invocation of me. 13. When I am devotionally recognized, then there is no longer any mental effort to grasp or comprehend or understand either the conditional reality or the non-conditional reality. When I am devotionally recognized and the ego self of body-mind is thereby forgotten in me, then only I am standing there, unmeditated, infilling body-mind from head to toe, from infinitely above to deep below. 14. Therefore, the only by me revealed and given radical reality of Adidam is inherently free of the seeking effort of ego I. To devotionally recognize me and to realize the disposition of no seeking are the same instant, because the vanishment of seeking occurs in every moment that I am recognized by heart. 15. Devotional recognition of me is prior even to the now of passing time. Devotional recognition of me is the true present, always already the case. 16. Every moment of right and true practice in the only by me revealed and given radical reality of Adidam is based on whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. When my devotee practices the radical reality way of Adidam on the basis of devotional recognition of me, he or she is inherently in devotional communion with me, entered into the matrix of the Bhagavan state. In that state of ecstatic inclusiveness with me, the whole body-mind follows the heart in devotional ego-surrendering, ego-forgetting, and always directly ego-transcending response to me, in and as my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form and person. 17. If there is devotional recognition of me, then there is necessarily devotional response to me. Devotional recognition of me and devotional response to me are not two different things. Rather, devotional recognition of me and devotional response to me necessarily coincide. Devotional recognition of me is signaled by the devotional response to me. Thus, devotional recognition of me is not mental or merely conceptual recognition, but yogic or whole bodily enacted and whole bodily demonstrated recognition response to me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 18. The fundamental devotional response to me, which necessarily coincides with devotional recognition of me, is the only by me revealed and given practice of radical devotion to me, which is the moment-to-moment devotionally me recognizing and devotionally to me responding turning of the four principal faculties of body, emotion or feeling, mind or attention, and breath to me, in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 19. The turning of the four principal faculties to me is radical devotion to me only if that turning is engaged as your inherently and not merely strategically ego-surrendering devotional response to me, in devotional recognition of me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. If the turning of the four principal faculties to me is engaged as any kind of self-manipulative strategy or technique, not moved by a whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me, then that presumed surrender or mere and unresponsive ego effort is not the only by me revealed and given practice of radical devotion to me. 20. Radical devotion to me is not a matter of you, as ego I, strategically surrendering the four principal faculties to me. Rather, radical devotion to me is a matter of allowing the four principal faculties to follow your tacit and spontaneous whole bodily response to me. When you devotionally recognize or feelingly locate me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person, the four principal faculties follow in devotional response to me, and indeed the total body-mind follows in devotional response to me, devotionally turned to me. Such is the unique characteristic of radical devotion to me. 21. If you do not devotionally recognize or feelingly locate me and whole bodily devotionally respond to me, then your presumed surrender is merely an effort to punch a hole through your hard ball of ego I and reshape it into an open cup, or to dismember your clenched fist of self-contraction and have it surgically restored as an open hand. Such is not the great process of radical devotion to me. The great process of radical devotion to me must be from the inside out, I say. 22. If you devotionally recognize or feeling locate me, then the four principal faculties of attention, feeling, body, and breath follow in whole bodily or total psychophysical devotional response to me, not because you move those faculties, but because you are those faculties. In truth, you cannot turn the faculties of me as if the faculties were separate from you or objective to you, because you are the faculties. Therefore, the faculties are truly responsively turned to me only if you devotionally recognize or truly feelingly locate me. It is only in that case that you are turned to me, because you are the faculties. 23. Radical devotion to me, or devotionally me recognizing and devotionally to me responding, turning of all four principal faculties of the body-mind complex to me, is whole bodily prayer. Radical devotion to me is not merely prayer engaged via attention or via feeling or via the body or via the breath. Radical devotion to me is not merely prayer engaged via any single faculties. Radical devotion to me is prayer engaged via all of the four principal faculties simultaneously and in a comprehensive or inclusive and total psychophysical recognition response to me. And because all the principal faculties of the body-mind complex are thus made into the total event of whole bodily prayer, radical devotion to me is not merely the prayer of requests uttered by the mind and to the presumed divine other and for the sake of the egoic body-mind complex or the separated and compartmented ego I. Radical devotion to me is total prayer. Radical devotion to me is the ego-transcending devotional prayer of divine communion. Radical devotion to me is the yogic or total psychophysical process of divine samadhi, the prayerful devotional process of intrinsically ego-transcending and always mind-transcending, and always total body-mind surrendering yogic communion with me, in and as my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form and person. Therefore, radical devotion to me, or whole bodily prayer, or whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me, is not itself an exercise of the verbal or conceptual mind. Rather, the total psychophysical exercise of radical devotion to me always requires an exercise of attention, which is the root and epitome of the thinking activity of the conceptual mind. And by always exercising attention itself in total psychophysical recognition response to me, the activity and the always total body-mind contracting contents of the verbal or conceptual or thinking mind are constantly and directly transcended. Thus, radical devotion to me, or the total psychophysical yogic process of whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me, which process is the whole bodily prayer of divine communion, is devotional communion with me without any associated concept or play of mind. 24. If, in any moment, you are attentive to the chronic thinking mind, you are not in that moment in devotional communion with me. Attention itself is merely the root form of ego I. The chronic thinking mind is the egoic pattern of attention. The chronic thinking mind is the ego I, the merely self-reflecting pastimes of Narcissus. The chronic thinking mind is made by the body's own self-contraction. The chronic thinking mind is mere reactive self-contraction. The chronic thinking mind arises from a non-conceptual, emotional or physical state of doubts. The chronic thinking mind is mere and self-reflecting talk, empty of devotional surrender to me. The chronic thinking mind is the non-surrender of attention to me. The chronic thinking mind is non-recognition of me. Attention to the chronic thinking mind is merely the exercise of the ego knot of self-contraction. Attention to the chronic flow of thoughts is inattention to me and non-communion with me. Only total psychophysical attention to me is true surrender to me, feeling beyond thought and feeling beyond attention itself to my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form, and thus and thereby into the infinite space of my divine transcendental spiritual body and my eternal divine state. Only total psychophysical recognition response to me feels beyond self-contraction and all thought, into ego surrendering, ego forgetting, and ego transcending whole bodily devotional communion with me. When the four principal faculties go to me, in devotionally me recognizing or feelingly me locating whole bodily response, all psychophysical self-contraction is released like the spontaneous opening out of a hand, and thought and emotional reaction and heart-cramped breath and bodily self-consciousness all unfold and relax into my bright love-bliss form. Da. Such is the ecstatic ecstasy, or in me standing stand, outside of self-contraction, that is the essence of radical devotion to me, in every moment of right and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam. 25. I am not within you, I am outside you. I am not within the ego knot, I am outside the ego knot. If you truly devotionally recognize or feelingly locate me, then moment to moment you totally psychophysically respond to me from the heart with all four principal faculties, and you let me in. If you do not truly devotionally recognize or feelingly locate me, then moment to moment you contract from me at the heart with all four principal faculties, and you do not let me in. If you do not let me in, I remain outside the ego knot of you. 26. The ego I, or total psychophysical self-contraction, does not feel my divine transcendental spiritual body and my eternal divine state. The ego I, or total psychophysical self-contraction, cannot feel my divine transcendental spiritual body and my eternal divine state. 27. The ego I is not and cannot be my devotee. There is no such thing as egoic devotion to me. There is either ego or devotion to me. There is either self-contraction or devotion to me. Da. 28. The moment-to-moment necessity of your actively me recognizing devotional responsiveness to me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person is the fundamental matter that you tend to forget in your narcissistic or self-consoling and self-glorifying lust for techniques and ideas and experiences. You must understand that you cannot realize me by the ego-based means of any kind of strategy or accumulation of techniques ideas, or experiences. You can realize me only by spontaneously devotionally recognizing me and always coincidentally and simultaneously devotionally responding to me in the moment-to-moment, whole-bodily, yogic prayer of ego-transcending devotional communion with me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 29. When whole-bodily responsive devotional recognition of me is inherently most perfect, that is the realization of the only by me revealed and given seventh stage of life. Until then, the only by me revealed and given radical reality of Adidam is the maturing process of whole-bodily responsive devotional recognition of me, always profoundly engaged and magnified. 30. The only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam is the ego-transcending process of whole-bodily responsive devotional recognition of me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and a person. And egoless and really total body-mind transcending whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me is realization of me. And in the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam, realization of me is always profoundly magnified until it is inherently most perfect. 31. To devotionally recognize me and devotionally respond to me is to stop doing yourself. How do you stop doing yourself? Only by spontaneous to me responding forgetting of yourself are you inherently and spontaneously not doing yourself. Therefore, how do you forget yourself? Not by trying not to remember yourself, but by remembering me. And how do you remember me? By turning to my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form, and thus in and by means of whole bodily responsive devotional recognition of me. When you devotionally recognize me, you are totally psychophysically established in ego-transcending devotional communion with me, in and as my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form and person. 32. You, as ego I, are not the radical reality way of Adidam, nor do you, as ego I, practice the radical reality way of Adidam. I am the radical reality way of Adidam, and you follow me by whole bodily turning to my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form, devotionally recognizing me and devotionally responding to me. 33. If you become involved in self-guruing, then you are necessarily attempting to keep me out of the picture. But the devotionally me recognizing and devotionally to me responding practice of the radical reality way of Adidam is a matter of keeping you out of the picture. In the right and true practice of Adidam, there is only me. 34. The practice of Adidam is a matter of keeping you out of the picture, not in any suppressive state, but in the devotionally me recognizing and devotionally to me responding sense. The practice of Adidam is always from the beginning a matter of turning the total body-mind to my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form, and thereby inherently and spontaneously forgetting yourself. In due course, once you have fully listened to me and truly heard me, the always devotional practice of Adidam is a matter of spontaneously whole-bodily opening toward my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form, and by means of my therein and thereby located and entirely avatarically self-transmitted divine transcendental spiritual grace, turning upward while bodily in the healing pose to my avatavically self-revealed divine person, transcendently spiritually descending upon and transcendently spiritually infusing the total body-mind from above and beyond the self-contraction or egoity itself, and most ultimately from above and beyond all the limitations of every ego-made point of view. 35. When you devotionally recognize me, all you want to know and all you want to do is what you must do in order to realize me. One who devotionally recognizes me is not trying to bargain with me about the disciplines required for the true devotional and, in due course, transcendental spiritual life in my divine avataric company. One who devotionally recognizes me is not trying to accommodate some impulse other than the heart's disposition to realize me. One who devotionally recognizes me is no longer ruled or bound by the patterns of the social personality life. One who devotionally recognizes me is not trying to work out a compromise between ordinary worldly life and the true devotional and, in due course, transcendental spiritual life in my divine avataric company, because one who devotionally recognizes me is no longer invested in any kind of alternative to the true devotional and, in due course, transcendental spiritual life in my divine avataric company. One who devotionally recognizes me consistently enacts the one-pointed disposition of devotional response to me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person under all the conditions of life, whether ordinary or extraordinary. 36. When you devotionally recognize me, you necessarily devotionally respond to me by embracing all the functional, practical, relational, and cultural disciplines I have given for your stage of practice demonstration of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam. The by me given disciplines of the radical reality way of Adidam are entirely a matter of tacit devotional recognition of me and whole bodily devotional response to me. The by me given disciplines of the radical reality way of Adidam are not a struggle with your separate and separative self. The by me given disciplines of the radical reality way of Adidam are simply a matter of the tail end of the dog following the front end in response to the front end's hard impulse to realize me. When the entire dog is infilled by me from head to tail, then you simply follow my divine avataric word of instruction relative to how to live your life in each and all of its aspects as devotional communion with me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 37. The spontaneous, devotionally me recognizing, turning of the heart to me is the pointer behind which the rest of the dog or of the whole body follows. When there is devotional recognition of me, there is necessarily and spontaneously whole bodily turning to me. There is no other possible response if you devotionally recognize me. The devotional response of spontaneously ego-surrendering, whole bodily turning of all the psychophysical faculties to me is necessarily coincident with devotional recognition of me. 38. When you whole bodily recognize me, the total body-mind becomes conformed to the ecstatic disposition of devotion to me. In that case, the body-mind self ceases to be an instrument of merely mortal bondage and instead becomes a mechanism wholly aligned to me in devotional communion with me. Then the living and active body-mind self becomes the great divine process of devotional communion with me and thus of communion with that which is inherently satisfactory. 39. I am completely satisfactory, because I am always already the case. There is not anything or anyone else that is completely satisfactory, because there is not anything or anyone else that is always already the case. You devotionally respond to me because you recognize me to be completely satisfactory. All of your unsatisfactoriness of ego self devotionally responds to me and is drawn beyond itself in devotionally me recognizing and devotionally to me responding, communing with me in and as my divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form and person. 40. This is the right and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam. Da.